Welcome back to another episode of the Course Creation Incubator. I'm Gina Onativia, here to help you get across the finish line when it comes to your course creation and marketing. I want you finishing on fire with your online course, getting your market out there, making sales, welcoming students. I want nothing more than that for you. And today, you and I are starting with the end in mind and really thinking through what's the next step after your initial online course, because you've worked very hard to convert your course students, and I want to make sure you have the end in mind in terms of where you're going next, in terms of where you're taking your students and creating a comprehensive path for them. Now, I want you to have a course-based business, not just one singular course. I want you building on success, and part of that comes with starting with your customer journey. Now, before we jump into all that, a few weeks ago, I talked about pre-selling like a pro. It was episode 63. I walked through 3 steps on how to set up your buyers in advance, including setting up a wait list, doing content that's relevant, and then having a social media strategy that's truly thoughtful. Now, the feedback and comments from this episode were amazing. I love seeing the waitlist pages that some of you shared with me. And I wanted to quickly follow up with some of the comments and the questions I got from that episode. And first, when do we actually start selling? Because in that episode, I never lead you to the next step. I walk through those 3 steps, the wait list, the content, and then the social media. But then I don't let you know when you're actually going to start selling. Now, once you've set up those 3 pieces, those 3 steps, you're ready to open carts. You are going to email your founding members or the people who've opted into your waitlist and say, thank you for taking action. I'm going to open up carts officially in a few days. Because you took early action, you're going to be one of the first to be able to purchase and enroll. Then you invite them to enroll in your course a few days before everybody else does. And you let them know that they're getting this special opportunity. Plus, if you listen to that episode, I mentioned a bonus that you can offer when someone enrolls as a founding member. Now's the time to remind them that if they enroll now, they get that founding member bonus that only the early waitlist people will get. So you can offer that as an incentive as well. So that's when you're going to email them. That's exactly when you're going to sell to them. Yet another question I got was about the kind of content, because I talk about having relevant content in that pre-sale episode, but I don't necessarily jump into what kind of content or how to generate it. Well, way back in episode 11, I talk about creating content that's going to make you dough and taking on the objections that might come up as part of your course launch and how to create amazing content topics that will take on those objections. I even include this worksheet that's a content generator for you to come up with some topics. So check that out if you're wondering, well, Gina, what is that relevant content? How do I create that as a run-up for my course? Now, lastly, I was talking to one of my students about the waitlist pages, and I said it's the first phase of your simple sales page. I've had plenty of students and clients who created that waitlist page, then it became their simple sales page. So it's a phased approach to sales page creation. And one of my students, Christy, she said, oh, I love this. I feel like I'm getting ahead of the game by creating my waitlist, saving myself time in the long run. So she felt like she was making incredible progress. It felt like a win for her. So if you think about your waitlist page that way too, like you're getting ahead of the sales page, I mean, win-win. Another reason to do that pre-sale process. I wanted to wrap that up. I wanted to wrap up some of the feedback and emails I've been getting about that episode, but please keep the messages coming. I love getting your responses. You guys are making me think beyond the podcast. Oh, and one last thing. I keep saying that. I know. Really one last thing on this. Another student wrote in to tell me that she felt guilty that she was spending so much time on our marketing because her course content was suffering. Now listen, your course will not get jealous, I promise. I will never fault you for working on your marketing and your sales and putting your actual course creation on hold just for a little bit. Marketing and sales is so important to what we do, and honestly, we just don't spend enough time on it. It's the backbone of what you and I do as course creators, and you can't have a business unless you have marketing and sales. So I'll never fault you for that. So I give you permission to press pause on your course content, work on that waitlist, work on that run-up. All right, let's get into the meat of this episode, which is knowing your customer journey overall. And I got a taste of my own medicine with this concept when I was trying to figure out my next offer the other day. I was talking to my friend Sal about an offer I've been working on, and she said to me, well, you would say to me, what's next? Where are you taking your students? I mean, damn, she was feeding me my own stuff. I had to laugh. And now she's asking me this because I don't want to create an offer in a vacuum. I don't want you creating an offer in a vacuum. You want to think in terms of a customer journey, the complete path you're taking your student on. It starts with your social media, then your lead magnet, then maybe you buy your $297 course, then they buy your group coaching for $1997. Then maybe they work one-on-one with you. That's a customer path. That's a complete journey. So if you're listening right now, I want you thinking or asking yourself, where am I taking my students? How can I make it a journey and not just a one-off excursion? Because listen, you've done all this work to woo and convert your student. Don't love them once and leave them. Continue to love on them. And not to mention, if you look at the statistics, it's way easier to sell to an existing client or student than acquire a new one. All right, let's break this down into a process that you can think about, that you can follow. Step 1, determine what's after your course or your live workshop. Whatever you're working on, whatever we're working on together by you listening to this podcast. Sometimes the online offer, by the way, ends at the course because you want consulting or coaching or more bookings. For example, I was talking to a client the other day. They're fully booked out in their executive consulting firm, and they just want the course to continue to drive their consulting. That's great. They just want to know, okay, what's the best way to do that? They don't necessarily have an end game of building out different courses or this online empire. They just want to keep leads going to the consulting agency, which is great. Let's think through some other options. You could have a more robust course, a signature course, a group coaching program, a mastermind, a series of intensives or workshops or retreats. You could do events. You could do a paid community or a membership site. See, there's so many fun paid offers that you can make after your course. I've had students who start off with a 6-month course, then go into a membership site, and then go into, say, one-on-one coaching or group coaching. There's a lot of different and fun ways to figure out your customer journey. Starting with the end in mind, that's what's key. So here's another example of a customer path. A lower price point course to a signature course to a mid-priced event, say like a $997 or a $1497, to a high-ticket mastermind program. Now, that was a customer path for one of my mentors. All roads led to that mastermind program when she had it, which she had for years and years. It was very successful, mostly because she had this great customer path all set up for her. So that's step 1, figuring out what's right for you. What's that next offer? Step 2, how can you set up your student for the next step? How do you seed it? There's a few ways you can do this to seed throughout your course that you've got something coming up. So say you're going to teach them a more robust version of what you're teaching now, for example. So your next step is a signature course. As you guys know, I love a good starter course. So the next step could be the signature, the more robust version of that. So you're going to let them know, hey, this is just the tip of the iceberg of what I could teach about, mindset. I've got a whole other program about this or a whole other section that I could teach. I'm trying to keep it simple for you. I'm trying to keep it foundational. This is where we're starting from. This is a starter course as a reminder. Now, for those of you who want to go further, there's more. So you're teasing it out, right? There's more to come. You're leaving little breadcrumbs for them to realize that throughout the course, there's something more. You're coming from a place of service here, by the way. It is not salesy. People are naturally going to want to know what's the next step from you. All the time for my own programs, like I teach my 6-week accelerator, and inevitably people ask, what's the next step? Inevitably, if you're serving someone, they're going to want to know the next step, which is to go further with you. So seeding in your course, what's to come, is one way to do that. Another way is to have a bonus that then teases the next step with you. I talk about this in my bonus workshop, and I'll link to that in the show notes so you can check that out. So if you're teaching something about anxiety, for example, and your next course is about stress management, then I want a bonus about 5 ways for you to manage your energy, or an energy management checklist or something like that. You're setting the tone for what's to come and teasing that out. Step 3, once you figure out what's the next offer, you're teasing it out, then you could start to bring that next offer into fruition. Remember, one step at a time. I want you focused on creating and delivering your course. Then while you're running that program, you could do another round of validation for your next course or your offer. Here you're gauging interest, but not building it out fully until you get input from your current students. So you could survey your students, see what they want, and build the next piece with that feedback in mind. Or if you have group calls or one-on-ones, this is a great opportunity to add a question to ask your students to see what they want for the next offering to take shape. I really want you to take into consideration what your students want to see as part of the next step. Sometimes I get students asking me, well, I want to create a group coaching program, Gina. What should it look like? Like, don't ask me. Ask your audience. Ask your current buying students what they want next from you, because they have a really great opinion of what they want next. Like, you have shown them some content. You have taken them to a part transformation, very likely. So they want to know what's next. They want to know if you're going to fulfill on the next step with them. So get that information from them, get that intel, and then develop that offering. So you have an idea from step 1, what you'd like to put out there, but really going to validate it by asking your current students. So do not skip that step. Okay, so those steps again. Step 1, you're thinking through what's that next offer that you want to put out there. Step 2, how are you going to seed it as part of your current course? And then, of course, step 3, how are you going to get student input to develop that next offer? That's how you're going to build out that customer journey for your people. All right, hopefully this was helpful. I'd love to hear your questions and comments about this episode as well. Next week, I'll have another episode to help you get your course creation and your marketing done. Please rate and review this episode, especially if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, and then subscribe. Until next week, go create, be you and be brilliant, and get it done.